And so yeah, we'll open it up to Q&A. We got some really great questions during the workshop. So I'm actually going to go through a couple of those right now until I wait until a few more questions come on in. But we got a question from an operator out of Oklahoma asking how soon do we expect Metrc to be implemented in Oklahoma? And based on the only guidance that has been released by OMMA about 2.5, maybe 3 weeks ago at this time, they want the entire supply chain to be implemented within 6 months. California wanted some similar type of time frame for that as well. California has just as many licenses as Oklahoma does, and really it took us like 1.5 years. However, I do want to speak on the California market and what happened in that transition, that we are now in a pretty critical spot with our California operators who dragged their feet on implementation. And essentially what we've had to do the past few months is we had an operator that was not working in Metrc for about 3 to 4 months. And they had Metrc turned on and they were receiving all their transfers from their wholesalers, and they weren't accepting anything, but they were actually physically accepting that inventory and doing sales transactions out of their dispensary. And so it took my team and I, there was about 5 of us working on this audit for about 3 months to upload hundreds of thousands of retroactive transactions because they did not implement Metrc properly. So I do just want to let you guys know, like, even if you want to drag your feet on implementation, it's not going to be good for the long term. You really just need to essentially bite the bullet and just get it over with and start making the mistakes early, especially while everyone is trying to transition on to Metrc. Like, make your mistakes then. You don't have something called a sandbox. You don't have a practice user interface to try and train and test out. You can't do any of those things in Metrc. So if you get on the platform earlier and you make those mistakes earlier, then hopefully the state agencies will be a little bit more lenient in those discrepancies and help work through those a little bit more. Now in California, we've gotten into a really critical spot. The state agencies are now starting to contact people in the supply chain, telling them that their inventory is off, which is really scary. I never want a state agency coming and telling me that my inventory is wrong when I just did a reconcile yesterday and I know it's all correct. So yeah, just get ahead of it. It's going to be better for the long term. It's going to give you more time to train, and it's not just going to be a fire trying to run around with your heads cut off, pretty much just trying to figure it all out. So some other great questions we got was from out of Massachusetts. And Megan was asking about tags and how much she should be ordering and when she should be ordering them and what that looks like. So immediately when you get into Metrc, you should be ordering those tags. And like Leah said, those are coming from Florida. So depending on where you are, it could take up to 2 weeks to get those tags. And so when you get those tags, remember those tags are going to be assigned to each individual license. So if you're vertically integrated, you need to order licenses order tags for each license, your manufacturing, distribution, and your adult use. And then also depending on your supply chain between medical and adult use, they might be separate. They might be one supply chain. So you might need to order more tags. There's a lot to it. And so when you get those tags, you're going to have to go through your implementation steps. So your beginning inventory. And when we start talking about beginning inventory, that goes back to the slides that Leah was talking about with batch tagging versus serialization. And so this is really going to be dependent on you on how you want to tag your beginning inventory. But essentially what you really want to make sure that you do is that you never cross over different SKUs. So if I have, let's say, a white chocolate strawberry chocolate bar, and then I have a milk chocolate bar, those need to be 2 separate Metrc package tags. They can't be in the same tag because they are technically 2 different production batches because they're 2 very different products. And so when you go to do that, you want to make sure that you're tagging per SKU and per batch. So then this gets even more complicated. Let's say I have chocolate bars, all from the same brand, all the same potency, but I have 3 different batches. They would have 3 different production batches. Maybe one was created back in January and another one back in June, and then I got a 3rd shipment yesterday. Those needs to be 3 separate metric package tags. And so that goes into serialization versus batch. When you go to order your first set of tags, if the state isn't putting a limit on how many tags you can order, what I would do is I would pull a report of all of my SKUs, all of my batches within those SKUs, and then I would multiply that by 3 and order that amount of tags. So that way you just have extra, because like Leah said, if you run out of tags, you stop operations. You cannot do any type of activity without those tags. So never run out, make sure you have enough, and make sure you order plenty during implementation.